One of the perennial mysteries of this country is how many sectors are so short of labour. But time and again, even looking for state services, you hear the mantra, there's no labour available. And therefore the question asks, if there is genuinely no labour available here, we could have that debate, particularly with the Minister of Social Protection and the Minister for Finance, in relation to incentives. Okay, if labour is not available, what are you going to do to make sure that vital services are available in this country?
Thanks, Deputy. So I think that the question was related to the permits, so I'll focus on that with my answer. But also in general, we do try to analyse and identify any areas where there are skills gaps, critical skills gaps, or where there's a shortage of labour. And we, through our department, we regularly engage with all the various stakeholders through the various forums, but also individually with various sectors, various groups. We do detailed analysis twice a year into every sector that we think there are shortages being talked about. And where there is evidence gathered and evidence very clearly identifies that there is shortages, we react and we change. And we change the process in relation to the permits. And I'll come back to that focus in a minute, but that's only one addition. The best way to try to deal with labour shortages is to predict it and put the funding into education and all the various supports through all levels of education to address that. And that's what we try to do and work more clearly and directly with all the various sectors. We have, through reforms over the last 10 years, we have a very enterprise-facing education system through the further education and training and all the commitment announcements through apprenticeships and skills and on-the-job training, along with investment in higher education and investment in research and innovation as well to drive automated processes as well. So every effort is made to try to deal with skills gaps and work with the relevant sectors. The issue you asked me in the actual question then is in relation to the permit scheme, the permit, employment permit. And that is a regime that is designed to facilitate the entry of appropriately qualified non-EAA workers to fill skills and labour shortages in Ireland. However, this objective must be balanced by the need to ensure that there are no suitably qualified Irish or EAA nationals available to undertake the work at the shortage is a genuine one. So we do look for real evidence backed up by the parent department that it's genuine, but also that every effort is made to source that labour, that talent locally. And it is hard sometimes to explain if you have potentially 40,000 people on PUP, another 150,000 people on long-term or short-term social welfare, how we also need to bring in other talent as well. So we try to close those gaps by working through social protection with employers through the range of schemes, namely under the pathways to work, to join the dots there, to try to bring people who have various skills, to upskill them if need be, to fill those jobs. And when that can't happen, we do use the permit scheme to bring in people as well.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Ó Cuív.
Minister, on Tuesday night here in the adjournment, I raised the issue of the total shortage of home care workers. Not a skilled job, but a skilled job that doesn't need much formal qualification. And it seems that the system, in this case, is the government system, totally find it impossible to get enough people within this state to provide those services. And there are people in critical situations that are not getting care. On the other hand, I understand that the work permit system is so restrictive that it's not possible to bring in where these people aren't available to do the home caring. That's not possible to bring them in because it's totally restrictive. Have you had discussions with your colleagues in relation to whether we should issue work permits to people who come in and provide these absolutely vital frontline services in our community? And we saw with COVID how advantageous, in many cases, home care is as an alternative to nursing home care.
Thanks, Chair. There's a couple of issues that I'll try to deal with. First of all, the particular area of home care workers is raised, and I didn't see your debate during the week, Deputy Ó Cuív. It was discussed with the Taoiseach here last week on the floor of the House, and it's an issue that we've all been commenting on lately as well, and we will engage and are engaging with the home care providers in that sector to try to gather the evidence to make the case. The difficulty we have, and we did do 2 reviews over the last year since COVID. In April last year, we changed the scheme to allow for permits for those healthcare assistants who generally work in nursing homes to come in and work, because there's a lot of evidence that showed there was a shortage there. There was an agreement with the HSE, the Department of Health, that they were needed, and there was a wage structure and a training regime put in place to facilitate that. Phase 2 of that then was the demand then for workers in the home. We have tried to engage with the providers there, and they've gathered evidence with us, and we are working through that evidence. However, on the last review just completed in the last few weeks, the evidence was not there to show that there's a need to revert to the permit scheme to bring skills or labour in from abroad. And the biggest issue that we have to try to tease through are that the 75% of the people who work in that sector at this moment in time are part-time. Now, I understand quite a number of them might choose to be part-time, but that's where we have to go deeper and we have to analyse that, and the Department of Health are involved in that process.
Thanks,
sorry, Chair, because there was three.
No, I'm sorry, Minister.
Well, okay, well, there was three.
Minister, reality is that it's cold comfort to somebody who's waiting for care to be told that there's all these processes being gone through, while in the meantime there are no services. But we know that labour shortages are endemic in this society. We have to import most of the deckhands on fishing boats. There are hold-ups in the licences there. We are totally short, amazingly, of people in hospitality who constantly tell us that they can't hire people. Now, maybe I'm looking at the wrong end of the story, and maybe another issue that will come under the remit of your department is more relevant here, and that's the issue of a living wage to make it attractive to work, and this interface between gain for work versus social welfare. If you want to address that issue rather than the work permits, I'd be interested. But I'd also be interested in what exactly are you doing to streamline the whole process of work permits.
Thanks, Deputy Minister.
Yeah, so, well, on the second one, I have to point out that the Tánaiste is driving a lot of changes to make work pay and to make sure that the conditions and the rates of labour and backed by the government are making more and more attractive to try to attract people into work. Because you mentioned another sector, hospitality, and on one hand, there's thousands of jobs available in the hospitality sector, and we've given permits and prioritised certain areas of that in relation to chefs and so on. But on the other hand, if you analyse the live register and those in pub payments, there's thousands with a hospitality background. So there's a mismatch there, which we're trying to close that gap. And yes, it's paying conditions, yes, it's choices, and people are re-evaluating their careers, and we try to again support that. A lot of money is set aside through education and the upskilling agenda. The Pathways to Work is a scheme that I would ask employers of all these sectors to engage with to attract labour as well. The issue in relation to the farmers, and again, in conjunction with the Department of Health, we did make 100 permits available to bring in dairy farmers as well. My own sense is that won't be enough, but I have to work with the relevant departments and the relevant agencies, and notably the IFA and so on, in that sector to be able to gather that evidence. But we do react quite quickly and have, and that's 100 at the moment. In the next review, we can increase that if there's proven demand. But we do try to work with every sector to encourage them to source labour locally and avail of the supports from government through social protection, through education, through our own department to make that happen as well.
Thank you,
in relation to the, sorry, can I just add one last thing just in relation to the processing of permits?
Because I've been kind of strict on everybody, so
Right, I'll share the information with you again, Deputy O'Keefe.
Question